the enterprise smart contract platform. The promise of blockchain has always been revolutionary, a decentralized system where code replaces trust and smart contracts automate the agreements that govern our world. But in practice, enterprises, the corporations, governments, and institutions that move trillions of dollars, have struggled to adopt blockchain. Why? Because public blockchains weren't built for them. On Ethereum, once you deploy a smart contract, it's immutable. That may sound good in theory, but in practice, businesses need flexibility. What if regulations change? What if a bug is discovered? Enterprises can't afford to lock themselves into code they can't upgrade. Then there are costs. Gas fees fluctuate wildly, making it impossible for companies to predict expenses at scale. Compliance is another hurdle. Enterprises must meet strict regulatory standards. But most public blockchains were designed with decentralization ideals, not enterprise accountability. This is the gap Casper set out to fill. Founded in 2018 by Medha, Parlikar, and Manohar, Casper was built with a different vision. A blockchain designed specifically for enterprises, where smart contracts could be upgradable, fees could be predictable, and compliance could be aligned with business realities. At its core, Casper isn't about chasing hype cycles or meme coin pumps. It's about delivering a platform enterprises can trust, scalable, secure, and adaptable. Its architecture, built on proof of stake with CBC, correct by construction consensus, was designed not only to support decentralization, but also to provide the predictability enterprises demand. What sets Casper apart most is its upgradable smart contracts. Unlike Ethereum or most other blockchains, Casper allows developers to modify contracts without breaking the system. For businesses and governments, this is a game changer. Instead of fearing bugs or regulatory changes, they can update code as needed while maintaining security and continuity. Casper also focuses on predictable gas fees. Enterprises can't plan around wild volatility. By designing a model that stabilizes costs, Casper lowers the barrier to adoption. And with tools for developers and businesses that are familiar, Casper positions itself as a bridge between the blockchain world and the enterprise world. From the start, Casper's vision has been clear: bring blockchain to the organizations that need it most. Whether it's governments exploring CBDCs, corporations securing intellectual property, or enterprises tokenizing real-world assets, Casper aims to be the backbone of regulated smart contract adoption. In a crypto world obsessed with retail hype, Casper's story is quieter, steadier, and perhaps more profound. It isn't trying to be the people's coin or the fastest chain. It's trying to be the chain enterprises can actually use, a platform built for longevity, compliance, and trust. This is the untold story of Casper, the blockchain that reimagined smart contracts not for idealists but for businesses, a project that could become the regulated Ethereum for enterprises. Welcome to Casper, the enterprise smart contract platform. Part 1. The birth of Casper. The origins of Casper are rooted in frustration with the limitations of existing blockchains, and the gap between the promise of smart contracts and the reality of enterprise adoption. By 2018, Ethereum had become the dominant platform for decentralized applications. Its smart contracts were powerful, but they came with a critical weakness: immutability. Once a contract was deployed, it couldn't be changed. For decentralized finance experiments and retail projects, this rigidity was acceptable, but for enterprises, it was a deal breaker. Imagine a government issuing digital IDs only to discover a bug in the code, or a corporation tokenizing billions in assets only to face a sudden change in regulation. In these cases, immutability isn't security, it's risk. Enterprises needed flexibility. They needed smart contracts that could evolve with them. This was the insight of Medha, Parlikar, and Mrinal Manohar, two entrepreneurs who saw that blockchain's next frontier wasn't speculation, it was enterprise adoption. Together, they founded Casper Labs, the company behind the Casper network. Their mission was clear: build a blockchain that enterprises could actually use. Medha, with decades of experience in technology and product delivery, understood the practical needs of software systems at scale. Mrinal, with a background in venture capital and finance, saw the market opportunity in bridging blockchain with enterprise requirements. Their partnership combined technical vision with business strategy, and out of it came the blueprint for Casper. Casper was born as a proof-of-stake blockchain designed around the principles of scalability, adaptability, and compliance. Its consensus mechanism, known as CBC, correct by construction, was developed by Ethereum researcher Vlad Zamfir, but Casper Labs refined and implemented it into a production-ready system. CBC offered a path towards secure, provably correct consensus, a foundation enterprises could trust. But Casper's real innovation lay in its approach to smart contracts. By making them upgradable, Casper broke with blockchain orthodoxy. Developers could modify and improve contracts after deployment, ensuring that bugs, vulnerabilities, or regulatory changes wouldn't render entire systems obsolete. For businesses, this was revolutionary. Instead of fearing blockchain's rigidity, they could embrace its transparency with the confidence that their systems could adapt. Casper Labs also designed the network with predictable gas fees. Ethereum's volatile transaction costs were infamous, often spiking to levels enterprises couldn't tolerate. Casper's model provided stability, allowing organizations to plan budgets and operations without worrying about sudden fee shocks. The early years were about proving the concept. Casper Labs focused less on retail hype and more on enterprise engagement. They spoke the language of CIOs, compliance officers, and regulators. They presented Casper not as an experiment, but as infrastructure, a blockchain designed to support billion-dollar industries and governments. By the time Casper launched its mainnet in March 2021, it was already positioned differently from most crypto projects. Where others boasted about decentralization or retail adoption, Casper emphasized enterprise readiness. It was blockchain with guardrails, not to limit innovation, but to make it usable for the organizations that needed it most. The birth of Casper marked the beginning of a new category in blockchain, platforms not designed for speculation, but for business adoption. Its founders understood that while hype comes and goes, enterprises demand longevity. They need systems that can stand the test of time, scale globally, and comply with ever-changing regulations. Casper was built for exactly that. The next chapter would reveal how its technology worked, from proof-of-stake and CBC consensus to upgradable smart contracts and predictable fees, and why these features made Casper uniquely suited for the enterprise world. Part 2: Casper's technology. What makes Casper different from the hundreds of blockchains competing for attention? The answer lies in its technology, a system designed not for hype cycles but for the needs of enterprises. At the foundation of Casper is proof-of-stake, POS, a consensus mechanism that replaces energy-intensive mining with validator staking. But Casper doesn't use just any POS system. It implements a variation known as CBC, correct by construction. CBC was pioneered by Ethereum researcher Vlad Zamfir, but Casper Labs took the concept from research to reality. In simple terms, CBC is designed to ensure that the network's consensus process can be mathematically proven correct. Instead of hoping the system behaves securely, CBC establishes the rules so that it must. This provides a level of rigor and predictability that enterprises demand. Casper's consensus also offers scalability. Validators can join by staking tokens, securing the network without the environmental costs of proof of work. Transactions settle quickly, and the network is designed to grow without bottlenecks, critical for industries running high volumes of data and transactions. But the breakthrough that truly sets Casper apart is its upgradable smart contracts. On Ethereum, once a smart contract is deployed, it cannot be changed. For decentralized purists, this immutability is a feature, but for businesses, it's a liability. Regulations evolve, bugs are discovered, business logic changes. Enterprises cannot lock critical infrastructure into code that can never adapt. Casper solves this by allowing contracts to be updated without breaking continuity. Developers can modify logic, patch vulnerabilities, or integrate new features while keeping the system secure and auditable. This flexibility is a game changer for industries that need blockchain's transparency, but also demand adaptability. Alongside upgradability, Casper provides predictable gas fees. On Ethereum, transaction costs fluctuate wildly, sometimes spiking to levels that make enterprise-scale operations unfeasible. Casper's model smooths costs, ensuring organizations can plan budgets with confidence. For corporations operating on strict margins and compliance standards, this is not just convenient, it's essential. Casper also prioritizes developer accessibility. It uses familiar programming tools, making it easier for existing enterprise developers to build without having to learn an entirely new ecosystem. The goal isn't to reinvent the wheel, but to integrate blockchain into the wheels already turning within businesses. When compared to competitors, Casper's positioning becomes clear. Ethereum remains dominant, but its immutability and volatile fees limit enterprise adoption. Algorand emphasizes speed and simplicity, but lacks Casper's contract flexibility. Hedera offers enterprise governance but is controlled by a council, raising decentralization questions. Casper strikes a balance: decentralized consensus, enterprise-friendly features, and adaptability. It's this balance that makes Casper appealing to businesses and governments. It doesn't demand they abandon compliance or embrace ideological decentralization. Instead, it offers a blockchain they can use within existing frameworks. A platform that works with, not against, regulatory and enterprise realities. This focus on enterprise-grade technology may not generate meme-worthy headlines, but it builds trust. For corporations managing billions in assets or governments deploying national systems, predictability matters more than hype. Casper's CBC consensus, upgradable smart contracts, and stable fee model provide exactly that. The technology behind Casper answers the how. But for any blockchain, adoption answers the why. The next chapter in Casper's story explores its partnerships with enterprises, governments, and institutions, and how those collaborations are testing whether Casper can deliver on its promise to be the enterprise smart contract platform. Part 3. Adoption and partnerships. For any blockchain, technology alone isn't enough. Real impact comes from adoption, from partnerships that prove theory in the real world. Casper, unlike many of its peers, focused early on building credibility with enterprises and institutions rather than chasing retail hype. Its message was clear. Blockchain is not just for speculation, it's infrastructure. One of the first major areas where Casper made waves was in intellectual property. Through a partnership with IPwe, Casper enabled the tokenization of patents. Traditionally, the patent system is slow, opaque, and costly. By placing patents on-chain, ownership can be verified, transferred, and even traded more efficiently. The pilot demonstrated how Casper could modernize a system that underpins billions of dollars in innovation worldwide. Casper also forged relationships with global technology giants. Collaborations with IBM and Amazon Web Services, AWS, brought enterprise credibility, allowing companies to build on Casper through familiar platforms. Instead of asking enterprises to step entirely into the crypto world, Casper integrated into the environments businesses already used. This reduced friction and gave corporations confidence that they weren't betting on untested infrastructure. Governments also took notice. Casper was piloted in projects across the Middle East, Europe, and Asia to test blockchain's role in digital identity, supply chain management, and government services. For nations exploring central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, or e-governance, Casper's enterprise-first design was appealing. Its upgradable contracts and predictable fees addressed real concerns regulators had about deploying blockchain at scale. Another area of adoption has been in supply chains. Just as VeChain proved the value of blockchain for logistics transparency, Casper has explored tokenizing supply chain assets and documents. By ensuring data is secure, auditable, and adaptable, Casper positions itself as a tool for industries ranging from shipping to pharmaceuticals. Casper Labs also leaned into the world of enterprise tokenization. Tokenizing real-world assets, from commodities to data, requires systems that regulators and corporations can trust. Casper's ability to support customizable, upgradable contracts made it a natural candidate for pilots in this space. Unlike chains focused on speed or retail DeFi, Casper marketed itself as the safe, compliant backbone for tokenized markets. Its adoption strategy wasn't about short-term hype. While other projects announced partnerships that fizzled, Casper emphasized long-term pilots and integrations. This approach sometimes made it less visible in crypto headlines, but it built a reputation among enterprises as a blockchain designed to deliver. Still, challenges remain. Some critics argue that Casper's adoption has been slower than expected, with many partnerships still in pilot phases rather than full-scale deployments. Competing platforms like Hedera, Algorand, and even private blockchain frameworks like Hyperledger continue to court the same enterprise clients. The battle for the enterprise blockchain market is far from decided. Yet Casper's unique features, upgradable smart contracts, predictable fees, and CBDC consensus, give it a strong case. Enterprises don't want to gamble on volatility. They want stability, compliance, and trust. Casper offers all three. Adoption is not just about logos or pilots. It's about building the foundation for tokenization at scale. And that's where Casper's story turns next. How its technology is being applied to tokenizing assets, modernizing finance, and preparing for a future where every enterprise will need blockchain rails. Part 4. Tokenization and Enterprise Use Cases. If the first wave of blockchain adoption was about speculation, the second wave will be about tokenization. Not just coins or DeFi tokens, but real-world assets. Patents, commodities, supply chains, even government records. For enterprises, tokenization isn't a buzzword. It's the next step in digital transformation. And Casper has positioned itself as a platform built specifically to support it. The most visible example came through Casper's partnership with IPwe, which set out to tokenize patents on the blockchain. Patents are a cornerstone of intellectual property, representing trillions in potential value. Yet the system that manages them is outdated, slow, and fragmented across jurisdictions. By moving patents onto Casper, IPwe created a framework where ownership could be recorded immutably, transferred efficiently, and even traded on secondary markets. Suddenly, patents could become liquid assets, something enterprises and investors had never experienced at scale. But patents are only one example. Enterprises across industries are experimenting with tokenizing data. Data has become the world's most valuable resource, but much of it sits siloed and underutilized. With Casper, companies can tokenize streams of data, sell or license them securely, and manage access rights dynamically. Whether it's medical data, supply chain logistics, or IoT device output, Casper's upgradable smart contracts allow enterprises to tokenize and manage these assets with compliance in mind. Then there's the financial sector. As central banks and regulators explore CBDCs and digital securities, they face a pressing question. Which blockchain platforms can they trust? Public chains often lack the flexibility and compliance features regulators require, while private chains limit openness and innovation. Casper offers a middle ground, a public, decentralized network designed with enterprise realities in mind. Its predictable fee model and adaptable smart contracts make it a candidate for tokenizing regulated financial products, from securities to derivatives to CBDCs. Casper also targets supply chain tokenization. Similar to VeChain, Casper can record logistics data, certificates, and asset transfers on-chain. But its unique ability to upgrade smart contracts makes it especially powerful in industries where standards and regulations change frequently. A pharmaceutical supply chain, for instance, can adapt its blockchain-based compliance logic without starting from scratch. For enterprises, the benefits of tokenization on Casper are clear. Efficiency. Assets can be transferred instantly without intermediaries. Transparency. Ownership and history are recorded immutably. Liquidity. Illiquid assets like patents or carbon credits can be traded on secondary markets. Compliance. Upgradable contracts ensure businesses stay aligned with changing regulations. This combination makes Casper more than just another smart contract platform. It positions itself as the enterprise backbone of tokenization, where real-world assets and regulatory frameworks converge. Of course, challenges remain. Tokenization at scale requires legal clarity, standardized frameworks, and enterprise adoption far beyond today's pilots. Competing blockchains are racing toward the same vision, each offering their own approach to compliance and scalability. Casper will need to prove that its enterprise-first features truly make it the best choice. But the opportunity is enormous. The World Economic Forum estimates that tokenization could unlock trillions of dollars in value by the end of the decade. From intellectual property to green energy credits, from CBDCs to enterprise data, the assets of tomorrow will live on distributed ledgers. The question is, which ledger will enterprises choose? Casper believes it can be that ledger. Its story isn't about memes or hype cycles. It's about quietly building the infrastructure enterprises will need when tokenization becomes unavoidable. The next chapter explores this vision further. Casper's future, its challenges, and its role in a world where blockchain adoption is no longer optional, but inevitable. Part 5. The future of Casper. Casper's story is still being written. But one thing is clear. It has chosen a path few others dared to walk. While much of the crypto world chases decentralization maximalism or speculative hype, Casper is carving out a niche as the enterprise-grade smart contract platform. Its value proposition is simple: give businesses and governments the flexibility, predictability, and compliance they need to actually adopt blockchain at scale. The opportunity is massive. The global economy is on the verge of a tokenization wave. Intellectual property, financial instruments, carbon credits, supply chain assets, and government records are all moving toward digital representations. The question isn't if this will happen, but on which platforms it will occur. Casper believes it can be one of those platforms. In this vision, Casper becomes the regulated Ethereum for enterprises. While Ethereum remains the world's largest smart contract network, its immutability and volatile fees make it difficult for enterprises to adopt directly. Casper, by contrast, offers upgradable contracts and stable costs, features designed specifically for real-world business use. If enterprises are to embrace blockchain, they need rails built with them in mind. But the competition is fierce. Hedera is building an enterprise council model with major corporations. Algorand emphasizes speed, sustainability, and simplicity. Hyperledger offers permissioned frameworks trusted by enterprises who want control over their infrastructure. Even Ethereum itself is evolving, with Layer 2 scaling solutions reducing fees and improving throughput. In this crowded field, Casper must prove not just that its technology works, but that it can attract lasting adoption. Its partnerships so far, with IPwe, IBM, AWS, and government pilots, show promise. But many remain in testing phases. To achieve its vision, Casper will need to scale beyond pilots into production deployments that secure billions of dollars in assets.
Only then will it cement itself as a core player in the enterprise blockchain market.
Risks remain. If adoption lags, Casper could be overshadowed by better-funded competitors. If regulatory clarity doesn't arrive, enterprises may hesitate to commit. And if technical execution falters, trust could erode in a market where reliability is everything. Yet Casper's pragmatic design gives it an edge. Enterprises don't want ideology, they want functionality. They want the benefits of blockchain: transparency, efficiency, tokenization, without the risks of immutability, volatile fees, and non-compliance. Casper offers exactly that. The speculative arc is bold. Imagine a world where patents, carbon credits, CBDCs, and enterprise data all run on Casper's rails. A world where smart contracts are not rigid but adaptable, where tokenization doesn't clash with regulation but aligns with it. In that future, Casper isn't just another blockchain. It's the standard for enterprise adoption, the quiet infrastructure beneath the next wave of global digital transformation. Whether Casper achieves this remains to be seen, but its vision is clear: to become the blockchain that enterprises trust. The one that bridges innovation with compliance, the one that delivers not just on promises but on production. In the end, Casper's greatest strength may not be speed or speculation. It may be patience, the willingness to build for the long-term future of enterprise adoption, even as others chase short-term gains. This is Casper's bet, and if it pays off, it could redefine the relationship between blockchain and the global economy. The enterprise smart contract platform. Most blockchains were built for ideals: decentralization, immutability, speculation. But the real world doesn't run on ideals. It runs on contracts, compliance, and trust.
Casper was built for that world.
A blockchain where smart contracts can evolve, where fees are predictable, and where enterprises don't have to gamble to innovate. Not for memes, not for hype, but for business. Patent supply chains, tokenized finance, government services. Casper is quietly positioning itself to become the regulated Ethereum for enterprises. The story of Casper is still being written, but one truth is clear: if tokenization is the future, enterprises will need a blockchain they can trust. And Casper is betting it will be the one. Here at LTL Productions, we uncover the untold stories of crypto, the networks building tomorrow's rails while the world is distracted by today's noise. Subscribe to LTL Productions right now. Share this video with someone who thinks blockchain is only for speculation, and join us as we continue mapping the Internet of Value. This is LTL Productions, and Casper may just be the chain enterprises have been waiting for.